Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial. I'm still hosting. I am Alex Lexi, otherwise known as Master One on the internet. Of course, joined by Alex Hapgood and Sam Hapgood. That's Ninera and Initialize. As always, Fusion, introduce yourselves.
Well, we just got done with a huge game. I'm sorry. Is it that way?
It doesn't matter now.
It
doesn't matter.
Let's go. Come on, give it, man.
Fusion.
Yes.
Yeah. Casting duo, unite.
Yes.
With our powers combined, we can survive 57 minutes of gameplay between two teams that
had no idea how to fight.
Well, okay, the game was pretty difficult, but we just got off of a really long game. Our voices are shredded. It was a huge game, and we still have one more to go.
Yes, that one more game is going to be V3 Esports versus the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. Both of them at the moment in the standings are 3 and 4. Obviously, SoftBank are on that loss streak at the moment, and V3 are commonly our team going 1 and 1. I want to pass it over to you first, Initialize. What's your thoughts going into the future of this match? And obviously, what are you expecting?
Well, I think... Okay, so probably two things. I think V3 are going to feel a little hard done by in that last game. I think they did a pretty good job to contest, but they could just never find anything that would break the game open. They got the Baron, they had the Elder, they looked like they would finally be able to do it, but there's just so much damage by that point, that late in the game, from people like Aphelios and Gangplank just landing their skill shots, that they were really going to struggle to close out unless Archer could just 1v9.
I couldn't do that with the Elder buff. So
exactly. So I think that potentially V3 are going to be looking to potentially draft a little differently this time.
Well, Elder and Baron.
Well, exactly, and give themselves a few more options. And maybe give Boogie a jungler with a little bit more early agency, or at least not necessarily, or not necessarily early game, but a little bit more gank potential.
Gragas.
I actually think that Boogie played really well on the Tron.
I do too. But he's so important for the team in terms of starting.
I think you just don't pick Karma.
Yeah,
that's just don't pick Karma. It really didn't end up doing too much that game, and then they were really at an engaged deficit at that point.
Yes.
Whereas for the Hawks, I think they just need to step it up a little bit, really. I need to see more out of Tussle and Ramone, who have had some indifferent games at this point now, and considering we've really hyped them up to be superstars, I think Galliardi did a fantastic job in the first game to really shut down do a lot in that mid lane, and I think we could see that be a problem if those guys don't sort of step forward into being a little bit more proactive.
I think it's just across the board, just step up.
Yeah.
I do want to hit on one other player from Sengoku. My week 2 of the podcast, bot laner of the week was Honey. I had to defend him
from the Hawks.
Yeah, from the Hawks. Yeah, Honey was arguably, in my opinion, the best bot lane player of week 2. I had to defend him, but after a little bit of explaining, both of my co-commentators agreed that obviously he does deserve at least that place at the top. Arguably, though, since then, he's been arguably at the bottom of the pile. His positioning in a lot of these team fights, especially when playing champions, specifically like Miss Fortune, who need perfect or near perfect positioning in large team fights. This is still a very, very strong champion, and Honey has been kind of letting a lot of the team down in a lot of these team fights, just not getting good initiations, ults, and getting caught out in certain spots as well in the previous 2 weeks.
So in the previous game that we just saw, we saw at the start of today against Axis, we saw him kind of randomly walk up to the Xayah and die against Hyde and stuff like that. And as much as you are afforded a little bit of positioning error with your strut, a little bit, because you obviously don't have a dash, but you do have that extra movement speed when you get that active. It isn't infallible. We've seen him die a couple of times. Obviously, like he had that one game against that Nation Focus Me where there was a lot of CC, and we kind of gave him the benefit we gave him the benefit of the doubt for that. But this last game wasn't awe-inspiring. So I think Honey again. We need to kind of keep an eye on, cast a quizzical eye over there and see what's happening, and see if you can step up in lane, step up in team fights. Yeah.
And that's going to be a bot lane that's going to be very hard, because obviously that's Archer and Reyna in the bot lane. Yeah. So that's not going to be an easy bot lane. Arguably a very, very strong combination within V3's team. With that in mind, I think it's about time that we go into this pick and ban phase for our fourth and final game of the day for the LJL officially unofficial. So let me count us in for our final game of the day in 3, 2, 1. Good luck to both the teams.
Thank you very much, Mass Swan. And we are in for our last game of the day casting. It's V3 over on the blue side with Paz, Boogie, Ace, and Archer and Rainer.
And on the red side, it's the Hawks for the second time today. Dasher, Tussle, Ramune, Honey, and Pooh. And we've gotten into our bans pretty nice and quickly here. V3 are removing Aurelia and Lucian, so the Aurelia taken away from Dasher and Lucian, which we assume is taken away from Dasher and Ramune in those solo lanes. Has been banned quite a lot against them as a team, whereas the Hawks banning out a lot of these S tier picks in the Ornn and the FLS. We'll see if they'll ban out the Yuumi as well. That's the other one, which we think is a pretty high priority ban right now.
Yeah, and we had this conversation, right? The Hawks had a good draft the last time around, but it just wasn't a good draft into the team they were playing.
Yeah.
Which, or rather, it was a good composition, it was a bad draft. Maybe that's the way to phrase it. Dasher's Aurelia taken off the board. He had a very good game on that. He was doing some pretty cool and aggressive stuff, but the Olaf Yuumi was just an obnoxious combo, and they just couldn't find their way. And Ramune found some great flanks on the set, some good face breakers, but just never enough. So this time around, I kind of want to see them try and draft something that gives them answers into their opponent's composition as well as being kind of what they want to play.
Okay, so Yuumi is available, Set is available in terms of first pickable champions. It's going to be the Yuumi Hover. We'll wait until that's locked in to talk a little bit more about it. But no, I think it is such a powerful champion right now. It has to be at least considered for that first pick value. It's definitely worked its way back into the meta alongside a lot of these kind of frontline damaging champions, and it is locked in. So,
are the Hawks going to fall prey to the same mistakes they made last time, or will they have a bit of an answer? Maybe they just answer with a Soraka Olaf.
I wonder if they have to pick up an Ezreal now to stop the Yuumi Ezreal lane coming out.
That's very true. They're thinking of just going straight towards a Nautilus here, which I'm not sure about.
So Nautilus is pretty good into Yuumi. It's all right, but
yeah, but it is locked in. See what the second pick here, just gone straight towards at least very aggressive. They might be going a bit of a run back to what they were trying in the first game.
So I assume, I would like to see Ezreal Olaf out of V3 now. I think that's the gold standard for V3. Unless you want to lock in something which isn't an AD carry and then hope that Hawks don't lock in their own thing down there. But if you don't lock in your AD carry now, I think that's a big mistake. And then Olaf being one of those very good champions with the Yuumi that we've seen beforehand. So the Ezreal,
and are we going to see the Olaf?
1 out of 2 so far. And we'll see what they are deliberating, taking their time on these picks. Obviously, the Elise locked in by the Hawks here, and we saw that the Elise kind of just fell off in the face of Axis's team comp, which was also running both the Ezreal and the Yuumi earlier in the day.
Yeah, still no idea what they're thinking, aside from what our supposition's going straight towards an Aatrox, though, which isn't bad with the Yuumi either, in fairness. The healing does respond exceptionally well to the way Aatrox is increased healing on the World Ender.
Yeah.
So those zoomies and those heals are really effective on that champion. So not a bad pick.
I wonder if V3 aren't practiced with Olaf or they don't play it, because I feel like that should have been the spot where you pick it, because it will be banned away now. Obviously, the Hawks have locked in their own jungler. No sense in not banning junglers away from V3 already. And they're going to lock in a Kai'Sa, actually. So a big kill lane coming out of the Hawks bottom lane. It's a new AD carry for Honey as well.
Yeah, that plasma stacking is definitely a risk for Archer and Rainer on the Ezreal Yuumi. And of course, Olaf banned away phase 2. None of that Olaf Yuumi shenanigans. Maybe should have been picked in that sort of blue 3 side pick, but we'll see. There's a lot of other options available. There's a lot of other things that can work there. And as I said, Yuumi Aatrox is still pretty good.
Yeah, and Paz is a known Aatrox player, does play that champion quite a lot. It's the set taken away from the Hawks as well, actually fallen quite a long way down the draft. It's normally valued very highly over in the LJL, so won't be able to be picked by the Hawks this game.
Yeah, Zoe taken away as well. Ace definitely played that a lot. Been playing that a lot. I don't think he necessarily got the most done with it last game, but it's
No.
certainly something he's comfortable on.
It's also a blind pick, you know. And
Yes.
I think maybe you ban away the LeBlanc now as the other blind pick mid laner. But I think V3 probably want to go towards something with a little bit more scaling carry potential, something that Yuumi can attach herself to, make sure they survive and actually win a team fight for you. Because if you attach yourself to a LeBlanc, it doesn't really change much as a Yuumi. Attach yourself to something like a Victor and keep him healed up, can be pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's the Camille taken away from Dasher. Actually did have a game on that before.
Versus Ebby as well. Did get a solo kill in that matchup.
Yeah,
Of course,
did,
towards the end of that game, it didn't turn out so well because Ebby ended up like 8-2 and something because he
Yeah.
finds his way into games he should never be in. But there you go. Honey, though, looking to pick the LeBlanc for the mid lane. Ramone is a very good LeBlanc. And of course, Ramone and Tussle on a LeBlanc, and at least that kind of early agency I was calling for is locked in. Thank you. Definitely some room to be doing fun roams with those two champions.
Yeah, and Ramone's LeBlanc has been banned away from him by multiple teams. Even DFM wanted to remove that from him as well in their matchup. And now we're back to V3 to see what they choose to take into that matchup. This is a 10.3 Akali being hovered. I don't expect
I'm assuming this is
to
with
be
the
locked in.
hotfix.
Yeah, it's always after a hotfix. If the hotfix does come through, it does end up in professional play as well. It's actually Lysandra being put in, so good amount of engage being coming through from the mid lane of V3. We saw this from Rascal Jester, we saw it from Axes last week. Very interesting combo.
Skarner would be a good one with an Ayumi too.
Yeah, it does give you a load of speed ups, actually. That'd be very interesting. Also pretty good into the LeBlanc, too. Would have to get the QSS really early into this game and have to probably forego the cleanse as well, because you don't want to run cleanse and QSS as well.
Yeah, and that could mean a bit of a risk in that mid lane. It is locked in. So, yeah, Skarner, Yuumi. Well, Olaf, of course, has come to prominence as the primary duo with that Yuumi. I can definitely see how Skarner is a pretty powerful synergy with the cat as well.
Yeah, just all of these are very good Moosefeet champions.
Go on, my buddy.
Dasher may be wanting to pick up another split pusher in the top lane after the Camille has been removed. Locks in the Renekton, a very strong 1v1 champion. Does pretty well into the Aatrox, but that is a relatively okay skill matchup for the Aatrox as well.
And of course, Renekton is a good early laner, decent sort of front line as well. Nowhere near the power level he was at last year with the Shojin, but still okay, I think. He's a viable top laner right now.
Yeah, he does pretty well. He does well in lane, doesn't tend to be that diveable. You know, he can pop the Dominus, get that extra HP, and even maybe if you roam up with the Lysandra and the Skarner, you can really start punishing him. But that's a lot of resources to try and bring that Crocodile down.
But on the other side, it is, of course, now I look at it, that
Renekton
notorious Renekton Elise duo, and of course with a LeBlanc there who'll be happily roaming up alongside, who has actually gone for not the QSS, the cleanse here. Yeah. So might be running the cleanse QSS.
Yeah, I think it maybe. Well, so we did see in the Sengoku's game versus, I'm trying to remember who they played the Malzahar against.
It was against, oh good grief. It was at once, so it's Burning Core.
Burning Core, yeah. So we saw that their mid laner, Rocky, picked up QSS first item against the Malzahar there. Didn't actually run the cleanse. Obviously, cleanse doesn't work against Malzahar, so it's a very different story. A lot of the time, you do want to be running cleanse against your Lysandra as well. Helps you in the early game, you know, in these early ganks where you can try and flash into Ring of Frost and then get a chain CC down with your jungler as well, particularly when it's a high CC jungler like Skarner.
Alright, so run me through some of these win conditions. I'm seeing the V3 lineup as some pretty serious engage with a Yuumi there to keep people topped up and really CC people into like Aatrox running rampant with the World Ender.
There's a good amount of AoE team fight from side of V3 with stuff like the Aatrox running rampant in the backline. Then Lysandra, that's kind of her calling card, AoE team fights. And then Ezreal with the True Shot Barrage alongside the Yuumi with the final chapter, amongst other things, pretty good at laying down the AoE hurt. Whereas on the other side, we have a lot of dive. Renekton really likes to get into the backline, get down that stun, and that will unlock Kai'Sa to dive into the backline. Kai'Sa's pretty good against the likes of Ezreal as well, because one Arcane Shift is normally not enough to get you away from both the Killer Instinct and then the Hypercharge of Kai'Sa coming through with that move speed increase. It means that later into this game, maybe the Kai'Sa can assassinate the Ezreal, but again, you have to deal with the Yuumi.
Yeah, but of course, you know, once level 6 hits in that bot lane, the potential for an Elise to turn up bot side and then depth charge to be thrown onto the Ezreal into a hook, into the Kai'Sa R and the Elise coming down. Actually, there's a fair amount of dive potential on that bot side. Of course, it is a bit of a risk because the final chapter can do a lot of rooting, but you could could punish that bot lane fairly hard if you're willing to be aggressive enough. And actually, Tussle had a pretty good early game on the Elise. It just sort of turned out where they just got out-comped in the end, despite having a pretty decent lead on their Irelia and down in the... It wasn't the bot side, it would have been the middle as well. So
yeah, and this will be the first Skarner we've seen in this split of the LJL. We did see it all the way through the playoffs in the last split. If you go back and watch those, there were some very interesting Skarner games from Steel alongside some of the other junglers in the playoffs as well. And we see some interesting trading in the mid lane there. This is a pretty fun skill matchup in the mid lane, because Lissandra does have the ability to root LeBlanc after she jumps in with the distortion and then get some trading back with the frost shards as well.
That's a very garishly pink Renekton chroma. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's hitting a little bit uncanny valley for me. It's that kind of like fake cartoon skin color. That's just I'm finding very uncomfortable.
You mean the margin boosting?
Yes. Yeah. I kind of expect them to keep going boo. Yeah, no,
I only watched that through in entirety, like in chronological order, like last year.
Really? I don't think I ever have. I've only ever saw it like at Cartoon Network or whatever.
Well,
like,
I watched
Saturday
it,
mornings or whatever it was.
I watched it on the various TV shows that showed it, but they'd always show it in different orders and stuff. So I never actually managed to find out what happened until like last year. So,
I don't think I do.
And now he's in the top lane on this garishly pink Renekton, like you said.
Indeed. Tussle coming in here to contest Boogie's Raptors. There's some good wards down here, making sure that Yumi's spotted.
Oh,
She's trying to run up
actually,
as well.
juggling the aggro does reset the Raptors as well. Tussle managing to find his way in and deny this Spire, which is really annoying.
That's a big deal. And
Actually,
it means it's going to be
red buff.
Yeah, and of course Yumi's has to go down there, but it means that Ezreal Yumi is going a little bit more aggressive onto Honey down there, but he's perfectly fine. And Tussle manages to take away this red buff. Skarner having to retreat out, and I think Elise is going to be able to go straight over to her red buff and feel pretty happy about herself.
Well, so what we might see then is Boogie trying to contest on the
Are we going to see a Cocoon come in? No?
Boogie might be heading towards the bot side here. He maybe thinks that can't get towards the top side because Paz has been pushed in by Dasher in the Renekton versus Aatrox matchup. We'll be heading down towards the Krugs and not actually going towards the bottom scuttle, which I thought he might end up going to. But the priority in mid lane as well for Ramone on the LeBlanc probably dissuades him from doing that as well.
Yeah, and that does.
Oh, he's actually heading towards it. Okay,
Yeah,
he
he's
just wants to skirt around the vision.
Yeah, and I think he just about managed it, but that sort of like zombie ward there may have caught him. We'll find out.
Zombie ward doesn't have the highest vision radius. That's the thing. It's not as high a vision radius as a regular ward. The little trinket things, but it does mean you do want to avoid it. It doesn't particularly give any gold or XP when you kill it, so there's no real value for killing it yourself as well if you can remain undetected.
Indeed, is going to pick out this ward though, but it's been a pretty sort of strong early game path thing there from... Oh, that's a great flash in for the Cocoon. I think that's just going to be Ace dying the repel in. Yep, got the burst blood. Well done, Tussle and Ramone.
Oh, but Ramone dies to minions!
Couldn't drop the aggro! Couldn't drop the aggro!
Oh, and most of the time, when you do get into those close kind of trades, often the LeBlanc clone does end up dispelling the aggro as well, but it does get regathered by Ramone, who doesn't have any corrupting pot charges left to regain that HP in time to make that a 1 for none.
So I want to see how he didn't drop the aggro here. Let's see this one more time.
Okay, so jumps in, gets the chain down, and Ace, while he does have a decent path away with the E, doesn't manage to take the full duration of it before the chain comes down, and then the cannon aggro's onto Ramone. It does jump back, but actually the aggro had already been regathered because he jumped forward again, because he lost the... He lost most of his HP in the initial part of that trade before the tower dive came through.
That's a bit frustrating. He could have just kept walking. Could have kept walking out towards the river there, and he would have been fine.
I don't think so. I think the cannon would have...
would have killed him anyway.
Would have killed him anyway at that point.
That's a shame.
So cannons actually do a hell of a lot of damage.
They do.
Which is why, I mean, there's a really interesting interview way back in the day from, I think it was Doublelift, or one of the NA bot laners, saying, well, you know, it took us like 4 years to realize that you can't fight into cannon waves in bot lane. Don't 2v2 into a cannon wave. And we had to find out the hard way when with 2v2 and just and die all the time. Obviously, this is in the mid lane, not in the 2v2, but cannons always do so much damage.
Yeah, sometimes more valuable than your jungler. Certainly more valuable than me when I'm playing, that's for sure. Self-deprecating moment over.
I thought it was just fact stating.
Ooh, well, I'll take that too. I don't need this. But look, that's a decent trade now. Who's got from Dasher? Who's got the Conqueror running? Paz hasn't got his running yet, but he's actually running Grasp on this Aatrox.
Yeah, not running the Conqueror, which we normally see from the Aatrox. Double chain combo from Ramune takes over half the HP of Ace, but does have the Frozen Tomb available to him to dissuade a couple of these all-ins. Obviously, like the LeBlanc doesn't have a silence in her kit, can't stop the Lysandra from casting that ultimate. Obviously, the Cocoon will do, but normally you don't that Cocoon, so you can get that Frozen Tomb out, which is pretty good into this mid-jungle duo from the Hawks.
Yep, but that means Tussle and Pooh continue their roaming ways. Actually doing a fairly good job in this early game with the Hawks, are up to about an 800 gold lead so far.
Yeah, because there's a pretty big CS lead in the top lane.
That's another good bit of damage now, and there's the Dominus running. Boogie is here, though, and he's only level 5, but that means that Dasher is overstepped once more.
Q3.
He's not going to be there. You're right, the Q3 is down, but Dasher actually ticks over to level 7. It means he wins the 1v2. I thought he'd overstepped. Doesn't even need to burn Flash, and Paz does.
Yeah, Paz down 20 CS. Gonna miss this wave as well, and Boogie just not level 6 for that play. He didn't have that ultimate available to him, the Impale. Meant that Dasher could just kind of walk forward and keep continuing on that trade with the...
Another chain lands.
Another chain lands. We don't think we'll see anything more than that. We did see pretty... Yeah, there was the double chain combo again. So the thing about LeBlanc is that obviously, because you can get hit by that Ring of Frost when you're in melee range, a lot of the time your trades are about landing the chain and then proccing the sigils through that. You still max your W, of course, for that mobility and the cooldown. But you do get a lot of damage out of your Mimic chains.
Yeah, that's actually a much better trade from Paz this time around, who, with Dasher not having his ultimate and might want to not stick around this time, but has got a pot running, has got a Tiamat actually as well. He does want to stick around because he's just burned his teleport to get back to lane, so
yeah,
going to feel a little bit sheepish about that trade.
Yeah, it took a pretty bad trade. They're probably emboldened by the fact that the last trade went so well in the 1v2, even with his ultimate trade with the Aatrox there. He's actually picked up a Cull alongside the Kindle Gem. This is a very defensive Aatrox build.
I don't entirely mind it. I think in some ways, if you're going to have a Yuumi on top of you as well, rather than being necessarily pure damage, you just become this unkillable life tank.
Oh, that's a good trade from Pasta. Oh, he gets rolled back.
He just got too late on that one, but he's okay anyway. Was looking to get the Conqueror active and try and get some healing from it. But this top lane is more volatile than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Still about 1,000 gold. Well, just under 1,000 gold lead for the Hawks, who are laning pretty well at the minute. Ramone out to about a 10 CS lead in that mid lane, using the pressure, distorting forward to put down those 2 chain combos, avoiding the Ring of Frost. I'm fairly sure I've had that conversation before that, I'm pretty certain the Ring of Frost is in fact a Freljordian drinking game, right?
Oh yes, Ring of Fire, Ring of Frost, yeah, we like to have some variety here.
Yeah, and like Johnny Cash somewhere out there is potentially about to sue me.
True. The estate, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. But actually, Tussle and Dasher now up in this top side. We have talked about the Renekton Elise. Jordy's gone forwards. No! He is in so much trouble. There's so much CC. There's no way he's getting out of this one, I think.
Oh, maybe. He's got a lot of healing.
Has he got enough? That Grasp might have won it, but no. Tussle goes forward. He's got the healing. Oh, my days. He's still going to get the 1-for-1. Oh, man, that is something. But it means he's not got the TP. He's losing the wave. It's probably not still a good trade up for the Hawks, but well done from Paz to at least get one back.
Yeah, it's 2 kills over to the side of Tussle. Doing pretty well on this, at least in the early game. Didn't have the flash up, the flash out of our tower aggro in time to avoid that last turret shot. And I guess the defensive Aatrox build kind of pays off there a little bit. Does have the extra HP.
Yeah.
A couple of gas procs for that extra HP. The thing is, though, like, I feel like Conqueror gives you so many different turnaround potentials as well. Actually, we could see...
Prowling projectile hits, but there's a quick supercharge there to ensure that Honey gets out.
And I'm interested to see what build Boogie goes here. He's obviously going to go for the Cinder Hulk first, but it's a question of what his first item is, whether he's going to go towards something like the Righteous Glory for that extra move speed alongside... Oh, we see a flash
forward, and that's going to be so much damage onto this... Skarno's just gone.
Skarno's gone, and it's the 3rd kill participation in the game for Tussle. 3 out of 3 so far on the Elise, and the kill goes over to LeBlanc, who is piloted by Ramone. Very scary player on this champion. We saw him take down Sengoku with some crazy LeBlanc plays onto the likes of Yutori Miyashi on the bot lane for Sengoku. Has a fearsome reputation on this champion.
Flash Dredgeline, Flash Cocoon, and the Conqueror is running again for Dasher, but this time all the Qs land for Paz, and he comes out on top of that trade.
Yeah, but he is also down 30 CS at this point, which is kind of sad. Obviously died with the wave underneath turret from that tower dive. Did get the kill himself, which gets him a little bit more gold, and then obviously the Cult cashing in a little bit extra gold. 1 gold per minion that you kill, and then the big payoff when you get the full 100.
Yeah, Tussle here starting up this Herald, but Paz looking to come and contest, as is Ace. Infernal's up in a minute as well. The first Drake was secured by the Hawks, so that will be another one they want to pick up, as Tussle has actually run this early game pretty damn well.
Yeah, he has. Ramine's actually pretty low mana here, but the whole team is here. All 5 members. Ezreal not going to make it here in time as well. Ramine actually going into
He's
Paz
got another
here.
good chain, and that means that Paz is in trouble. Has burst the world, but the second chain is here. But the Lissandra's come through. I think she's going to get burst before she can use her ultimate. Just disappears, and the repel forwards by the Elise means that Honey gets to claim that kill after the damage came through from the Elise as well.
Yeah, Voidseeker comes through to claim that second kill there, and actually V3 kind of in a bit of free fall now. They've lost the Herald. They're probably going to lose a tower here as well because they lost 2 members alongside that objective fight. And basically right there, it's 5 members group from the Hawks, and then V3 try and pick a fight as Paz was caught out before Archer and Reyna can make their way up into this top lane.
Yeah, Herald is summoned. It is 3 plates left. You've got to assume that means the turret is going to go down. They're all leaving, so the turret plate resistances don't increase as much, and that means an easy turret first blood now for the Hawks. They got 2 kills off the back of that Rift Herald. They got the top turret. They get all the plates. They are well off the races.
Okay, so what we see here is Paz, honestly, if you're not going to fight this, you can't stand in this position. You know Ramen is there. You know he has the CC. Pretty low mana, of course, but does have enough to land at the chain. So what we see here is Ace go in for the early Ring of Frost, but the Cocoon lands into all the other CC, even with the Merc
So
Treads.
well played by Tussle.
Yeah, it is. The Cocoon lands, and then basically, even with the Merc Treads, there's just not enough tenacity to make sure he can get off his Frozen Tomb.
And in the picture, second Drake picked up by Tussle as well. So it's a gold lead, it's the Rift Herald, it's the turret, and it's now a second Drake as well. Hawks looking so much better this time around. That early agency from their mid and jungle is paying off.
Yeah, and also, as a result of the kill and then also the plates as well, Honey finds himself as a pretty sizable lead over Archer as well, who was kind of doing pretty well in this early game as well on the Ezreal. But now there's a 700 gold lead to the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, and of course we can't forget that there is still a Yuumi-Skarner combo to come out at some point and really, really punish people. That Predator-Zumi combo means that Skarner can be utterly ridiculously fast.
Sure, but now if you don't have the vision control to kind of set up a lot of those plays where, you know, you don't know where people are, you don't know when you're going to run into 2 or 3 people instead of just the 1, your window of error is pretty low. I don't think it's a good idea to dive Paz if he does have the Yuumi is there as well. So one of the things about the Aatrox at the World Ender, one thing that we were talking about right back in Champions Select, is that the World Ender increases healing sources towards the Aatrox. That does include external healing sources as well, so the Yuumi does buff up that Aatrox pretty incredibly.
There is absolutely a team fight where Paz with a Yuumi on top of him, where the CC from a Skarner and a Lissandra can absolutely win a team fight versus the Hawks. That's absolutely the case. But on the other hand, the Hawks wanted to get snowballed early. They've done so. They've done so pretty effectively. The question is now whether they can keep that lead building and whether they can close out from this early game advantage.
Well, I mean, it's a 3k gold lead already. That's
yeah, absolutely.
incredible.
Well, nearly 4 actually.
It is 4K actually. Yeah, I was trying to think. Yes, it is 4K.
Maths is hard. Never do it on stream.
It's yeah, maths is hard when it's 4 games and you've had some crazy games today. But yeah, it's a big lead of 14 minutes for the Hawks. They found their way to their first items and some extra components while V3 are only sat on their first items themselves. At least we see Archer there with them.
That's a really smart Void Seeker.
It is. Yeah, at least Archer's doing pretty okay on this Ezreal. Hopefully we'll be able to fight when they do get to the 2 items, but at that point, Honey will also be on 2 items as well, and 2 items for Kai'Sa is also very scary.
Yeah, Elise here has gone for the Merc Treads, I think probably quite sensibly versus all this CC. It means she's available to be doing some Cocoon work, but it also means that, well, we're looking actually, I hadn't quite clocked on this, but Honey is down a fair amount of CS, but is up in the gold. I think Archer took advantage of the fact that Kai'Sa had roamed for that Rift Herald play, but definitely the advantage to Hawks in that play anyway, so more than worth it.
Yeah, but the thing about Merc Treads is that it doesn't exactly help you versus the Impale.
No, it does not.
Yeah, Tenacity does not affect suppressors. It will affect the Frozen Tomb and the Ring of Frost from Lissandra, and then of course the Yuumi root and slow as well, the slow duration as well, but not really anything beyond
the fracture
that.
from the Skarner is worth pointing out as well.
Yeah, true, which is often what he combos in to kind of threaten the Impale, because, you know, he uses that to threaten the damage, and then you use your QSS if you have bought one, and then he impales you anyway, and then you die.
Indeed, that would be a bit of a shame. But for now, it's looking pretty good for the side of the Hawks. We've been talking about the fact that V3 still have win conditions, right? They've still got ways into this game, but they're not as easy to execute as they would have liked with the way the game has gone so far.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
Honey's just going forward. Honey goes for a fantastic killer instinct, and that means that Boogie is still there does manage to keep his bot lane alive, but that's a lot. Oh, double 3 summoners burned for just the one of Honey.
Yeah, so the Impale came in onto Ramune as he went under the turret there, meant that he was held in place, and Archer manages to survive his way to the next Yuumi heal. Very nearly kills off Ramune. They're actually playing with fire. But the Ocean will become... Well, it's not up yet. It'll be up in a minute. So, and Hawks still retain control of this bot side of the map so far.
Yeah, and that was well played by Honey. We kind of called on him to have some slightly better positioning, and that was well played with a really aggressive supercharge in, and then getting that killer instinct to the other side of the fight to put out loads of damage onto Archer there.
Yeah, but unfortunately, nothing really coming about of it. They get a little bit of pressure on the bot side, but nothing. No dragon.
4 summoners overall.
Okay, so they get summoners. They get the teleport from Archer as he comes back into the mid lane, but it doesn't exactly buy them pressure for the next dragon fight, which is probably what they're angling towards as well. But what I'm really looking to see is that, so Honey is pretty close to his Rage Blade now, has all the components for it. He needs another 990 gold to get to that. I think it's 990 gold. It's maybe 790 now. They've changed the price of Rage Blade so many times, but we'll hopefully get to that Rage Blade sooner rather than later.
Okay, yeah. Observer, just want to point this out, as Tussle goes to the second Rift Herald here, did point out that as the Ocean Drake will be spawning, there will be a number of ultimates that will be on cooldown, notably the Impale from Skarner alongside all those summoners from the bot lane. So actually, like, we might see a couple free objectives going over the way of the Hawks right now.
But actually, the Hawks are choosing to go for the Herald instead. They might actually choose to dump that immediately into mid lane and then go towards the Dragon. They do want to clear up that mid lane because Ezreal is normally pretty good at holding that tower for a long time. They're actually placing it now, it looks like.
Yep, just straight down. They might even just continue to push and stop Ezreal from getting to that tower. Honey's there, attacking that wave, stacking up that plasma. Fair amount of damage. It's down to just about a fifth of the HP, but they're going to rotate over towards the Drake, and we're seeing a little bit of a bug. It is an observer bug. I've no idea what's happening. We've seen a flash out of Honey is what happened while that observer bug was occurring, because Boogie ran like the wind on that Skarner.
He's still so fast.
And I think there's a TP coming in. I think they are going to contest this. The Hawks.
Yeah, but Honey doesn't have flash now.
Archer's got caught. He's just gone. He had no flash either, and that means that Dash is coming in a 4v5. And look at the behind it. Look where Dasher is. Ace is in trouble. Is he gonna have the Glacial Tomb there? No, that's a good Ring of Frost, but the flash forward from Dasher. But incoming killer instinct from Honey. Well done. That is the power of all the CC. Allows your Kai'Sa to get to all these unusual positions and back up your members. And 2 kills for none, and the Ocean Drake for SoftBank Hawks Gaming.
Almost happened again. SG, SHG, both playing on the same day. But it's the Hawks that are coming out on top of this game. And we might need to find a new narrative for V3, who have often gone 1-1. Only gone 1-1 so far in this split for each week. But today, it looks like they're falling really far behind in this game, and it's going to be very hard for them to catch up to this rampant team of the Hawks.
Let's see how Archer gets caught here. He's on vision as well.
He's on vision.
He shifts forwards.
That is...
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. If that's not a wild turtle, I don't know what is. And then after that point, the hazard lights are all on. They go, oh, well, we can't fight. We don't have our relatively strong AD carry. Honey then cleans up Ace as well, and it's just kind of lights out.
Elise was laughing her way to the bank, flashed just for damage, and at which point Archer went, oh, no, anymore. He potentially... That could be really game-changing. It was already looking pretty bad for V3, but that was pretty suspect.
It was pretty suspect, and now after that fight, we now have a Kai'Sa with 2 items in the game.
Yeah.
She will have had, this Kai'Sa will now have the Q upgrade, which is very, very big in terms of your diving assassinating potential, because often Kai'Sa is, the strongest part about her is being able to dash in and then get, your full 10 rockets onto a single target, and proc all of those Muramana procs as well, because it does proc on each individual rocket, which is where a lot of your burst comes in. Archer actually being poked by Ramune there.
And we'll keep an eye on when that Muramana transformation does come through. Not quite there yet, but it's still stuck on the Manamune. But it means that for now, this Kai'Sa, not quite at her truly strong point, but this Elise, 3-1-3, very happy. Dasher on the Renekton, still got picked, has got his Executioner's Calling as well to be kind of keeping Paz's health scaling to account. Ace finds his way onto Ramune, but has to claw straight out, doesn't do all that much. But look at the damage from Boogie, the speed from Boogie, repel up from the side of Tussle, but they're going to turn it around our Hulks. But incoming Paz, and suddenly Pooh has to use his stopwatch, but incoming Ramune from behind, and Honey's there as well, but Paz has got his first kill onto the Nautilus. Look at the damage. Ace is here.
Ramune?
Great use of the fantastic Glacial Prison, and Tussle's nearly dead, but just about surviving. He throws the gun, but that's so much damage, and Dasher has got so much kills in the backline, and that means it's turned around. Just about great use of the end of that damage from the Renekton. Stays alive. It is a 2 for 3 in the end. Wow.
And yeah, that's the gold advantage showing itself for the Hawks. They're actually a pretty good fight on the side of V3. It's actually, Ramone takes so much damage.
He's got a flash for it. Has he got it? He's so close. Yes, he's got it.
Oh, he does get it. And actually, that's pretty big there. Might be able to E-forward for a second one here.
He's got it. Oh, he's got it.
He does get it. So actually, in the extended play, that's a 3 for 4 if you count the fight beforehand. That does turn around things pretty significantly, but there is no objective to take besides the outer turret. It's not like they can get a dragon out of it and get themselves stacking up towards that soul point themselves, which Hawks are currently sat on. But the mid turret is still a worthy prize.
Yeah, Dasher does claim the bot here, the bot turret though, and that's something for the return of the Hawks. Wow, what an end to that as well. Let's go back into this fight. So Tussle gets the cocoon on the Predatoring Boogie.
Yeah, and it just doesn't do much damage. The shield's there from the Yuumi, shields and heals. And then the final chapter comes out to just deny this corridor so much entrance as well. The Impale was used by Boogie there, not really to too much effect. And then Dasher has a huge fight from this point on. Gets into the middle of 4 people, gets a massive stun there, and then a 3-man Culver Meek there. Just goes absolutely wild in the backline. So much damage from the side of the Hawks from between Dasher and Honey there. And then basically Ramone just gets too big for his britches there. Gets hit by the True Shot Barrage and then a couple of arcane shots, mystic shots rather. And then just, yeah, the red buff allows Archer to just chase them down.
And suddenly this Ezreal went from like no items to a Trinity Force, Muramana and QSS in one pretty much in like one sitting. And like Muramana is transformed now for Honey, he's on a QSS as well, but those items are very much in parity, and that Ezreal has overtaken the Kai'Sa in gold.
Yeah, so now effectively Archer is the win condition. Will, for the entirety of this game, be able to chunk out the LeBlanc, be able to chunk out the Kai'Sa. The problem is whether he can survive the engage and the backline dive of Honey and Dasher together. So it's going to be a fine tightrope walking act from Reyna and Archer to stay alive in these fights whilst also threatening the backline.
He found 3 kills in that last fight where he was the one who managed to get the fade-away Mystic Shot as Tussle flashed away. Just the very, very end of that Mystic Shot.
He's actually
that.
walking
but
forward.
He's got like that's going to miss that. No, actually does get the stun just about, but they're going to back away. Very fast Scorpion.
Yeah, so the cocoon does not land there, but it was the W from Renekton getting the stun there, and basically
Ruthless
just Boogie, Ruthless Predator, this one. So Boogie running forward with the Yuumi as well, being just being a nuisance there. Archer just jumping forward, see if he can do anything. This is his second Ezreal game of the day. Obviously didn't work out earlier, even though he was doing some decent damage in that game earlier against. Oh crap, what was the game I guessed earlier?
It doesn't really matter when Sengoku gave the really ridiculously long one, but what it means is Dash is in behind, and this is soul point for the Hawks. They desperately want this Ocean Drake. V3 desperately want not to give it to them.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to see a hell of a fight. Dash is off vision. They have no idea where he is. Ace is off vision. They have no idea where he is. Where is Dasher? Here we go. He's got Dominus running. He's got onto Archer. Archer's taking some time. Look at my Ramon. He's on top of him. But the final chapter's there. Is he going to survive? No, he's going to die. He fired the True Shot Barrage the wrong way. And that means that massive carry is dead. But Ace is in trouble. Having to claw out. Does not survive because Honey is there. And that means that it is a 3 for none. So much cleaner from the Hawks.
It's a 3 for none. Ezreal goes down early into the fight, and the Ocean Soul, that instant win, some people might say, of a Dragon Soul goes over to the Hawks. The game fully in control of the red team as they head over towards the Baron as well to complete their crown of buffs.
Indeed, and we talked about how Kai'Sa has all her items and her upgrades. It also means she's really fast at shredding a Baron. And that means that we're going to see a very quick Baron take, and they are in full control of this game of the Hawks.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that happened in the V3's game earlier is that, against Sengoku, is that at least they managed to get some of the neutral objectives. At least they got themselves the soul. They got themselves plenty of Barons, plenty of pressure around the map, even though they did kind of get outscaled. I don't think they get outscaled in this game as hard. I think that Ezreal does have relevant damage the entire game. But now
from Dasher.
They're fighting against an Ocean Soul, and this is how it happened. Flank from Dasher. Flash immediately onto Archer. The QSS is there, but it does pop it pretty early. Ramonade then with the follow-up damage Honey flashing in as well to finish off the AD carry.
Wrong way.
Yeah, he fires the true shot barrage the wrong way, but honestly, it wouldn't matter that much. The HP bars are still pretty intact here from the side of the Hawks. Ace didn't manage to get a giant AoE clumped ball to engage onto either, so the value of that Lysandra did lower itself in that fight. And now you're fighting against a 3-0 and 6 for Next, and a 4-1 and 5 Kaiser as well. These are very strong carries. 3 items completed for the side of Honey, with the Hurricane picked up alongside the Rage Blade and the Muramana. Means that these team fights are only going to get worse for the Hawks.
And once again, I am left begging the question, how did V3 win when Boogie doesn't run over the early game? This is 2 games in a row now where Boogie's kind of not had the carry performance of the early game. It's not like he's played badly necessarily, but at the same time, he's not necessarily got a lot done. There's not been the kills, there's not been the involvement, there's not been the objective secure.
That's a very layered question. I think it comes from a lot of different ways. I think that in this game, V3 lost a lot of early priority in lanes. I think that it's very hard to play an aggressive jungle style when you're being pushed in across the map. And I think that Tussle had a very good early game.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Involved in a number of kills across the map in the early game. Managed to dive top as well. As much as he gave his life for it, did have that impact there.
But is it a worry that V3 don't seem to be able to win or pull out games where Boogie isn't basically isn't the win condition, or isn't the early game win condition? That's a bit of a concern when they all wanted to draft these kind of compositions.
Yeah, and we saw him. Actually, Boogie had a pretty good game on the Trundle last game.
Yes, but I mean, how long did it take till First Blood? How much did he get? How much did he actually get done? He played fine.
They had
compared to his 3-1-1 Elise game, compared to his Echo game where they won in 23 minutes, where he was diving at 6 minutes or whatever.
Sure,
that's when V3 are winning, when they don't have Boogie kind of pop off.
Yeah, absolutely, and
they're looking significantly more fallible.
Yeah, what we see here is that getting back to the game at hand a little bit, get back to the narrative, the meta stuff a little bit in a bit, but then we just see the true shot barrage landing from Ezreal into 3 people, and then immediately healing up from the Ocean Drake with both of 2 Ocean Drakes and then the Ocean Soul as well, meaning that just no poke sticks at this point. And yeah, I think maybe there is a point to be made about playing towards an early game ganking style, but we see that actually the Elise has not been as impactful in the LJL not in this week as it has been across some other weeks. Ramune chooses to tank up the turret himself rather than leave it to his trusty minions.
I think potentially wanting to save the cannons and the minions a little bit of pressure and force people to come and take it, or just being too lazy to lose the aggro. Didn't feel particularly threatened. Not sure how I feel about that, but it's happened, and he's going to get out of there scot-free. He's just got to return to base. I'm not going to buy some new items. He's on a Ludens and a Morello with what looks to be probably a Zhonya's items in inventory there.
That's a Banshee's.
A Banshee's inventory, thank you. I mean, I think that's actually potentially both, actually.
Nope. No blasting one in Zhonya's.
Is there no blasting one in Zhonya's?
No blasting one in Zhonya's.
Yeah, I think what is it? It's the stopwatch, it's the Fiendish Codex, and it's, of course, the Arm Guard. So, yes, there is no blasting one. It is indeed the Banshees. Yeah. I was very mistaken.
Unless you're going to go back way back when it was a Seeker's Arm Guard and a Nisa Large Rod.
Indeed.
Back in Season 4.
Way back when, yeah, it's very true.
Long time ago. When he used to give 100, it was 100 AP back then? 120 AP?
It was quite a lot.
It was a lot.
It was needless CR.
That was when you could get over 1,000 AP with a couple of your regular AP items, as opposed to now you kind of have to go Seraph's Roa for that.
Yep.
Seraph's Roa Death Cap.
And of course, for the Cassiopeia and Casting players out there, they laugh at the rest of us who get to do that fairly regularly. But
Rise sends his regards.
Yeah, prove yourself and build all these items and be 1,000 AP.
Absolutely, and none of them are in this
game.
So we have the very mid game. We have the very mid game centric Lysandra and LeBlanc here. Not going to be getting to those particularly high values. They prefer their Magic Pen and the tacked on values of the Ludens and the Proto Belt, which are both pretty good extra AP ratios to put in there.
Yeah, and Ramune using a quick repel to get out of his solo invade in the jungle when he ran into about 4 members of V3 there and decided that was a mistake. Ramune going to put some chains down, but is potentially going to get chased down. The claw comes through, but Ramune does get out with a second distort.
Zhonya's?
Yeah, it was just a Zhonya's. It wasn't the stopwatch, so
yeah,
he's okay.
Speaking of Ace, sat at 1-5-1 on this Lysandra.
And Dash is just taking the base, by the way. Guys, no, nobody back.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going down in the top lane, but Ace has had a tough game on this Lysandra. He got a little bit shafted in lane by the Elise and the LeBlanc. Didn't really manage to use this counter pick matchup, particularly to its full potential, has done some work in team fights, but not really enough to justify this pick in my eyes. But yeah, I think also the other thing is that Ramune is just a really good...
Tussel's been caught out behind, but it's
he
actually a
has-
lot of people here. Teleport coming through though for Dasher, who's here, has got the dominance and got a GA, so he might
Honey.
get popped here. But Honey's doing so much damage. Dasher kills Archer in the backline, and suddenly they're flashing over into Renekton, who's very happy to receive the waiting arms of Boogie and a Yuumi, who is there to be food for a crocodile.
Yes, he is, and that's actually a full ace with a triple kill going the way of Dasher on the Renekton, ending this game 6-0 and 8. This should be the death push through the bot lane for the side of the Hawks, looking to go 1-1 on this week of LJL.
Yeah, well played from the side of the Hawks. It was good early play out of Tussle, who got the bot lane, who got the top lane ahead. Ramune found the good kill in the mid lane as well. So it's been some good stuff in that early game, and they just translated into so much objective pressure, and they're going to end this one in just under 32 minutes.
And as we see the Nexus fall, we're going to come out of this week's games and hand us over for the last time to Mass1 for our post-game, post-week thoughts on the LJL.
Well, what a game. V3 and SoftBank really did actually have a very interesting game. SoftBank definitely performing. Honey had amazing positioning, but it helps when you're playing Kai'Sa, who literally has an ultimate ability, who says, I hit this person. I want to go to this person. I'm perfect position. Way! Yeah. But yeah, honestly,
Honey had a good game.
Honestly, that was a return to form for Hawks for me.
Yes. And like I've called it before, right? That I want Ramune and Tussle, when they're on the front foot, when they get to make the plays, when they get to make the decisions, is a wholly different beast to Ramune and Tussle when they're kind of having things dictated to them, where they're having to play reactively or defensively. And this time around, we saw it again. Tussle found some good dives early on, got himself quite fed, got a lot of objectives, and they kind of just snowballed from there.
It was just exciting to see that V3 actually can be taken also off of this 1-on-1. It was obviously a kind of... They were probably meant to in their heads now. They're like, oh, we're meant to beat Sengoku, get vengeance for when we beat them, when they beat us last time. We'll beat them this time, and then we'll lose to SoftBank. It's fine. It's fine. They'll lose to Axis. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, so the tradition of the 1-on-1 is dead and buried. It's a 0-2 week for V3, and yeah, not the most confident week from them. Really hard funneling onto this Ezreal, which I think Ezreal is a pretty good pick right now, but it can't really be your sole carry, particularly when there's no real engage to front that up as well. I think that V3's draft's left a little bit to be desired, but and as much as Sam was talking about it in the cast, and we were beforehand as well. I mean, what do they genuinely do when Boogie isn't the playmaker? I think that Skarner has some ability, but not enough to really turn a game on its head like you can do with the likes of your Lee Sin at some points in the game, and your Elise as well, when you can just kind of dive various points of the map.
And like, it's not like I don't want Boogie playing Skarner or Trundle and things. It's just the fact
it is.
But it's just that the games that V3 have won have largely been when Boogie in the first 10 to 15 minutes has really pulled himself a lead or his team a lead. Yeah. Skarner and Trundle require a little bit more time before they can generally do that. Like, Trundle has the occasional like pillar gank, which is pretty good, but like you're kind of waiting on your ultimates and stuff to be truly effective. And we're kind of seeing that pause before they can get a snowball, before Boogie can have a real impact, really hurting V3 at the minute.
Yeah, when they have had those wins, he's played Echo, he's played Rek'Sai, and he's played Elise. All exactly as your narrative. Early game junglers that have really good scaling in the early games. And this is why they commonly end the games in the sub 30 minute mark, really. A lot of their games go. And if they don't win it, that's why it goes to about 35 minutes and they commonly lose it.
Yeah. I agree. And yeah, and I think, well, as much as I think the Echo game was a bit of an anomaly because they pulled out just a whole random composition. I wouldn't normally call Echo an early game jungler, although they did manage to dive bot lane quite a lot with it. You know, as soon as he hit level 6, he was really willing and ready to go. Really played massively well into the mid game on that particular pick. But you know, today we saw him on a Trundle, and as much as he played that champion pretty much to the limits of what you can do with a Trundle in this current meta. Like, in terms of the Trundles I've seen, actually even worldwide even, he had a really... He played a good frontline Trundle.
Oh, yeah.
Got out of a lot of situations he really shouldn't have. Stole some dragons, did some other stuff. And as much as he hasn't found his... he didn't really find his mark in the ganking department. Besides that, played pretty well on the front line.
It's just not the. It just wasn't the early impact that V3 kind of become quite reliant on. And the moment they've taken that crutch out, or that pillar out, rather, they have looked a very different team. Because even things like the Echo, right? Yes, you kind of want your level 6. Yes, you're not necessarily the best early game juggler. You still have a certain amount of agency in your ability to sort of throw your parallel convergence down, add that CC, and just get in somewhere.
I agree.
And so yeah, so like maybe we just need to see a bit of a rejig and have V3 think about their drafts. On the other hand, if they do want to be able to branch out, and as we are seeing the meta develop towards a slightly more tank-centric jungle champion pool, or less gank-heavy champion pool maybe, so things like the Karthus becoming a little bit more prevalent worldwide alongside things like the Sejuani and the Trundle, then maybe V3 do need to start thinking about learning to play when Boogie can't just hard snowball the early game.
Yeah, and with that in mind, that is going to end our cast of Week 4 for the first half of Week 4 for us. The following 4 games that we will be covering very soon. We do promise we'll keep you updated on our Twitter, social platforms, and everything else. We now have a chat command on our Twitch. If you go !information, you will find our Twitter and any other information that we decide to put in there. I'm starting to do all this other stuff. It's just more work. Who needs to do anything else? But we are going to be seeing Burning Core face off against, again, Crest Gaming Act.
Obviously, I'm so excited for that match.
Obviously, when we saw that, Burning Core have started to go on a little bit of a hot streak of their own, but when they faced against Crest last time, Arya and Gango popped off on LeBlanc and Draven. So one of just Arya's just amazing champs. Just every champ just seems to be in their back pocket. And then obviously Gango pulling up the first, and I believe maybe still only Draven. It was the first.
It's only Draven in the LJL. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know about worldwide. I'm just talking about us. I don't want to know. There's definitely been other Dravens. I think there was one in LCS.
Can you guarantee that?
I think LCS had one at least.
Maybe. Oh, for sure. I mean, like, look, there's definitely a few around the world, right? Like, I'm not been paying as much attention to Hans Sammer as I should be in that regard.
I also wouldn't be surprised at LCK. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, LCK loved Draven, so like when he was really good.
RTT as a player.
For some reason, yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, it's the League of Korea, right? League of Draven, League of Korea. So like, I mean, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, that definitely fits in with the way Korea's playing at the minute.
We also do get a very exciting game right after, and it is going to be the LJL Officially Unofficial's Game of the Week, that being Crest Gaming Act versus Detonation Focus Me.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, arguably,
I want to see.
Yeah, go ahead, guys.
I absolutely want to see Arya versus Seros. I think these guys have been performing out of their minds so far in the split so far. This is the match to watch.
Yes. Everything else, you can ignore it. This is the match to watch. I don't care if LCK is on. I don't care if LEC or LCS is on. You want to be there for that match. It's going to be killer.
It's going to be hype. Following that one, somehow, we're going to see Detonation Focus Me face off against Rascal Jester. Now, remember, this is a repeat match where Rascal Jester tried a very unique, and we've still yet to see a truly repeat banning phase outside of Rascal Jester, who also gave Detonation Focus Me at the time the best go for that win. And obviously Detonation Focus Me decided, we're going to TP for the win because we've just had enough of this 40-minute game. And I think for DFM, that was too long for them.
Yeah. We have a similar thing where like DFM have grown strength from week to week, and like I think the only other team I've seen kind of generally improve on the same kind of trajectory has been Axis, who I think have generally shown from being relatively weak to being actually fairly decent. Like, they played very well today. DFM, the other team that have just basically gone, they had a few kinks, then they had less kinks, and then they were like last week they were pulling off some beautiful 1-3-1 games versus team comps that should have been wrecking them in team fights. It was just very good stuff from them, and I'm hoping that it continues this week. It's good to see people playing well. It's good to see we've got a team that is performing to a level that's making everyone else kind of want to step up and match them.
And our fourth and final game of week 4 is going to be Rascal Jester versus Burning Core. They've never played before, so this is definitely going to be another one where I think this is going to be an interesting break point for Burning Core. Obviously, as we've said, they've arguably probably got their hardest game, or maybe the second hardest game. Obviously, they've already faced off against DFM, but potentially their second hardest game against Crest. That's a repeat, obviously. Playing off against Rascal Jester, are they going to have that momentum that they were having from week 3 coming into this one? Obviously, 10.3 has now come in. Last week we were playing 10.2, so 10.3 now. Potentially seeing some effects so far in this week. Going to be an interesting matchup. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be Ray Farkey versus Art. I think both of these guys have been really, really strong contenders for, the MVPs of their team, certainly, but definitely up there for Players of the Week in various weeks. It'll be interesting to see whether Art continues on his slightly off-meta AD carry champion pool, and whether Ray Farkey can continue up his hot streak, right? Because he'll have that one game earlier in the day against CGA. He played at Darius against them the last time they met, very nearly popped off. Didn't, and then kind of lost the game. But in this game, I think that he'll have a slightly easier go against Rascal Jester than CGA, just in terms of the team as a whole. So we'll see if Ray Farkey can find some more avenues of attack to go down.
See whether he picks his Darius again. That's always the question we have to ask with that player.
And with that in mind, we will be back very shortly, relatively speaking, in approximately about 6 or 7 hours. Obviously, as I've said, go over to our Twitter, LJL officially. LJL Unofficial. I believe that's the handle. Nymera, is that it? Yep, I'm not getting corrected. That means I got it right for once. Obviously, all of our Twitter handles. We will be going live again today. That's the 25th of February. Several hours later, I need to let these guys have a refresh of their voices. We'll be going live for our
sleep.
Yes, just everything in between. We will be going live for the LJL Officially Unofficial podcast. That'll be episode 4 of the podcast. We stream it live. We do it live now, but it officially will come out in another 2 days on Thursday, once I've edited it and maybe made it sound a little bit nicer. Where we'll be talking about, obviously, our current stage of week 4, more discussion actually on the meta comparison to week 3. Episode 3 is one where we weren't able to get fully into it. But with everything said, I want to hand it over to Nymera and Initialize for their closing thoughts for today's cast.
Anything?
I'm looking forward to the next session of games really very much. They're going to be absolute bangers, and I'm kind of hoping we avoid any of those 57-minute slog fests. My voice would be very unhappy with me if we did another one of those.
I think that the LJL continues to surprise and impress. I think that by now our preseason power rankings are completely out the window for me.
DFM's still at the top, so I'm about right.
Yeah, DFM's still at the top. Everything else, complete flux. And I've been very impressed by the improvement from Axes particularly. I think that a lot of teams have got a lot of stuff to work on, but that doesn't mean that they don't have strengths to rely on as well. So yeah, the next 4 games should be interesting too, like Sam was saying. And I'll be happy to bring them to you soon.
Yeah, Axes actually have a slightly easier week going into next week, arguably. So,
but that means they're going to lose, doesn't it?
No. That's where they actually get their 2-0 and actually climb up in the standings and now make playoff. And it's a huge disruption to everybody. But we will find out very soon. Obviously, follow our social media. We will be probably streaming those games probably in a few days or so. I'm not 100% sure if we fully fixed out a date for that when we will be doing it. But we will obviously, as always, try and bring you the cast of the previous week before the next week starts. As always, Initialize obviously does his weekly roundup approximately just before the week normally starts over on Reddit. So please, if you have any confusion, you'll be able to find that. He normally also tweets out the link as well. So you can find it, and it will probably also become our default pinned tweet for the LJL, so you can always find it, just so you can keep refreshed. But that's everything for today. We will see you very shortly again in approximately probably 7 or 8 hours for the podcast. But thank you so much for being here. Take care.